Just check if you are live. If you guys are watching us, please drop in a comment. Let me know if we are live and if you can see me, hear me. The audio is fine. Shivam? Is the audio good? Just guys, drop in a comment. Let me know if you can hear me because we are here to discuss the latest controversy to hit the world of IPL in the game that happened last evening. There were scenes right at the death when you had Rishabh Pant actually signaling to his players to come off because of that supposed no ball. I'm saying supposed even though the replay showed that yes, it was indeed a no ball, but the umpire, that is Nitin Menon, who was on the ground, refused to refer it to the third umpire. Now the rules state that if that had been a dismissal, on that case you would have definitely gone to the third umpire, but they did not. However, nothing can stop a ground umpire from referring any decision that he or she may have a doubt about to the third umpire. It's at the discretion of the on-field umpire. So the question is, why did the on-field umpire also not go and consider the third umpire? Anyway, now the decision has been taken by the IPL Governing Council, and as you know by now, we broke it on Sports Today as well, that there has been one match ban and 100% match fee fine for Praveen Amre, one of the support staff member, the batting coach of Delhi Capitals. It's been a 100% match fee fine for the captain in Rishabh Pant, and also there has been a 50% match fee fine on Shardul Thakur. So what we are going to discuss here, and I'd love to answer your questions, is that do you think the decision of that 100% match fee fine of the Delhi Capitals captain Rishabh Pant and the one match ban and the 100% match fee fine of Praveen Amre, is that a good call? You think it's in line with what they had done? Or do you think they were soft on what we saw transpire on the field, and maybe even tougher decision needed to have been taken? So we'll try and take those questions. But I mean, just to begin with, I know a lot of you are going to refer to the MS Dhoni incident. We'll talk about that as well. But let's start with what happened just now. Vinit Agarwal, I'm taking his comment. He says, even kids know cutting fees won't affect Pant's financial status. Vinit, completely agree on that, the 100% match fee fine is so small for someone like a Rishabh Pant that maybe if he was to do one social media post to his sponsor, he'd cover up that fine. So the bigger question is, was that in line with what had happened? You could even extend that logic to when there is an over rate issue and that one match, 100% match fee fine is put on the umpire of the fielding side. A lot of people say that even that may not be good enough, and maybe more stringent punishments really need to be meted out, and then you could really solve the issue of that over rate as well. And in this case, it's not just over rate. This is a case of something that was more drastic. It could have set a wrong precedent, and whether something more strict needs to be done or not. So Nofil Zak is saying, what action was taken on MS in 2019? So Nofil, as we all know, MS Dhoni had walked onto the field. He was also unhappy about a no ball decision that was given by an on-field umpire, but later it was overturned by Bruce Oxenford, who was standing as the leg umpire. He overturned that decision. MS Dhoni wasn't really happy in 2019, and as captain of CSK, that game interestingly was also against Rajasthan Royals, and on that instance MS Dhoni came onto the field and objected to it. That time he was fined 50% of his match fee, which I think wasn't in line with what he had done. That was, as you call it, rap on the knuckle, just showing that they were meting out a punishment, but that wasn't in wasn't the kind of thing that he had done on the field. I don't think that was justified. He should have been, fined maybe 2 or 3 matches at the time. People had said should have been suspended for 2 or 3 matches, because if you allow that thing to pass by easily as it was done there, then you would have had more instances of things happening. But also, what you really need to take into consideration at MS Dhoni's time, and just looking at both sides of the story, I've already said that that wasn't enough. He should have been fined more. 50% match fee wasn't right for what he had done. Not only it should have been 100% fine, but maybe a ban for 2 to 3 matches. However, what is different at that time, and that's interesting to note, on that occasion, Bruce Oxenford, the on-field umpire, the leg umpire at the time, who had overturned the decision of the no ball, in the hearing with the match referee, had refused to press any charges against the captain, and he said, no, it's fine. I don't take any offense on this, what MS Dhoni did, and it's absolutely all right. And because Bruce Oxenford, the umpire involved, did not take any offense or did not want to escalate matters, I think that was the reason that a 50% fine was given on MS Dhoni. Now the question is whether you should have taken umpire's view on that, or whether the IPL Governing Council should have anyway meted out a more stricter punishment. I think the latter would be true. You had to give him a much stringent punishment for having walked onto the field. That is an absolute no-no in cricket. So at that time also it was a wrong decision. Even now that you've banned Praveen Amre for 1 match, I still feel that he's gotten away lightly. Dipesh Mittal is saying, sir, why is there no charge on the match umpire? Dipesh, very good question. And I think just as you're going to be scrutinizing what the players are doing, you need to scrutinize the umpire as well. However, having said that, I think in the umpire's case, it's a mistake, or it's an error of judgment. It's much like, let's say, a player not doing well. His job is to, bat or bowl well. And if he makes a mistake on the field, how do you analyze it? You have a team meeting, either you drop him from a match, or you discuss about why the player played a bad shot or a rash stroke. That's an error of judgment. In this case as well, what the umpires did was an error of judgment. You need to look into it. I completely agree, and maybe there should be a post-mortem about the umpiring standards in this IPL. There may be a post-mortem about the umpiring standard in the IPL going forward. You have to analyze which umpire is doing well, and the punishment that you can really give the umpire for some poor decision is not have them regularly umpire at the top level. So that's how you need to look at the umpire. But was it against the spirit of the game? Not quite. What the umpires did was not against the spirit of the game. What the umpires did is didn't do their job properly. They made an error in their decision, which is again a human error, as you said, and that was not intentional. Maybe the umpire got it wrong, as umpires get wrong many times. So you should assess the umpires for their bad performances, and that's why I'm comparing it to bad performances by players as well. How do you assess that? You don't give them 100% match fee fine, or you don't ban them. So we cannot equate the same. As in, if a player has been banned for bringing the game into disrepute, which happened in the case of the Delhi team, that's a separate issue. The umpires haven't got the game into disrepute. They made an error. So yes, you need to look at the umpires, but you cannot have the same kind of punishment. You cannot fine them 100% match fee or a 1-match ban for the umpire. That's a wrong comparison if you were to look at it. Prashant Kaushik is saying Nikhil's a 100% right decision by the BCCI. Another question is how you see Virat under FAF and under MS. Prashant, I'll try and answer the question that we're here for, and that was the punishment that was meted out to the Delhi team. You think it's a 100% right decision from the BCCI, and that's great to hear, because we want to look at different point of view. If you ask me personally, I think it's a rap on the knuckle. I think a more stricter or more stringent punishment needed to be met out so that it sets the right precedent. Also, I know a lot of people will say that Praveen Amre, and I saw a lot of comments, people pointing out that Praveen Amre was a bit unlucky. He actually didn't want to go. It was Rishabh Pant who pushed him. Fair enough, that is true. But then Praveen Amre is a former cricketer. He's been in the support staff of various other teams. He needed to take a call for himself and should have refused to have gone onto the field. He made the error of going onto the field, even though it was on the behest of Rishabh Pant, but he should have ensured he doesn't go. I'll give an example of a Shane Watson. You saw the pictures of Shane Watson actually going to Rishabh Pant and telling him, don't do this. And it's very candid of Shane Watson to have come out now and said that this is not what Delhi Capital stands for. And at that time also he was advising Rishabh Pant, don't do this because this is not going to go down well. And he's maintaining that even today, even though he's speaking against the team. And that's very refreshing. It's good to see people from a particular franchise actually call a spade and point out when there is a mistake being made. Usually what we see is we hear positive voices coming out from the same team, always supporting their team members, even if they know that what they've done is wrong. In this case, kudos to Shane Watson to say things as it is, as he saw. And it was not just he's saying it now after the event has gotten over and taking a moral high ground. He did it even while that situation was being played out live in front of television cameras. Even that time, you could spot Shane Watson telling Rishabh Pant not to do it. And I think he deserves a lot of credit. Possibly, you could see Rishabh Pant was hell-bent on calling the players off. And if one of the reasons why the players eventually didn't come off is, I think, Shane Watson, the way he was speaking to Rishabh Pant and probably put some right sense into him. Shubham Goyal is saying, Nikhil, it is not unfair that Praveen Amre is being banned for walking onto the field. Then why was Dhoni not banned for one match? Shubham, I already answered that question. I, in fact, think that the ban should be for more than one game. You cannot walk onto the field. It's a major mistake that you're making. It sets the wrong precedent. And if a player walks onto the field now, every time there is a bad decision, you'll have someone or the other walk onto the field. Even though, as I pointed out earlier, he was pushed or he was asked to go on the field by the captain. Even then, it's the person who did it who is going to be penalized. And in this case, it is Praveen Amre. You talk about the MS Dhoni case, and I think two wrongs don't make a right. Even on that occasion, just the 50% match fee fine on MS Dhoni wasn't fair. He also needed to be banned for a game or two. The one thing that I want to, because we are presenting both sides of the story, the one thing that I will point out, on that occasion, Bruce Oxenford, who was the umpire who was on the field, who was wronged at the time because he had overturned that no ball in the meeting with the match referee on that occasion in 2019, had refused to really pursue the matter, and he didn't have anything adverse to say against MS Dhoni, and I think that went in MS Dhoni's favor at the time. Yet the IPL Governing Council could have taken their own view over and above of what the umpire said and banned him for a match or two. That could have been what you should have done. But as I said, we'll keep quoting the MS Dhoni example. That was also wrong. This is also wrong. Love Rami is saying, when are you going to start the show today? Our show, pre-match show, is going to start right after I finish this Q&A in another 5-7 minutes. So in this particular video, I'm going to try and answer all the questions relating to the big news that's really emerging from the IPL, the decision that the IPL Governing Council has taken on Praveen Amre, Shardul Thakur and Rishabh Pant. Yug Parmar says, I think everyone should look at this incident by a neutral way instead of supporting one side. Absolutely agree, Yug. And I hope we are living up to that expectation of looking at this particular incident in a neutral way. There is nothing pro or anti Delhi Capital, nothing pro or anti Rajasthan Royals. As we were pointing out, even what MS Dhoni had done at that time was wrong, and what was done by the Delhi Capitals team is also wrong. To be fair to Rishabh Pant, post-match, even Rishabh Pant came out and accepted that what he did at that time, wanting to call the players off, was wrong. He still maintains that it was a no ball. That's all right. But I think all the decisions that he took were in the heat of the moment. He accepted soon after the game got over that it was wrong. Also, I think he's a bit lucky in the case where 100% match fee fine, I think in this case would be okay, because eventually what he was trying to do was call the players off the field. And that didn't happen. That didn't materialize, and better sense prevailed, and the game was continued to carry on. So just for stopping the game and trying to create a situation, he has been fined. Had the players actually come off and the game had to be stopped, that would have been a much graver thing to have happened. And then I think you would have seen a few match bans on Rishabh Pant as well. So he'll have to thank his lucky stars that it didn't happen. Shushant Thapa, thank you for your question. I take this question in a live show because it's not pertaining to the fine. I know you want us to know top 4 and all of that. We're going to be starting our show in another, how many minutes, Siddhant? It's 2:54. Yeah, so in another 5 minutes or so. So we'll take those decisions there. Vineet Agarwal says this incident is overhyped. Vineet, I mean, I kind of don't agree with you on that. I'll tell you why. Because such instances affect the game of cricket. So forget about that one. So firstly, it affected the result of the game. Okay, let's be fair. Had that been given a no ball, I know a lot of people are saying that, hey, they still lost by 14, 15 runs. So even if that wasn't, even if that was given a no ball, they wouldn't have won. That's not true. That one decision costed them a game. Who knows? See, because if that was a no ball, then the equation would have come down to 70 needed of 4 balls. One of them would have been a free hit. You never know what could have happened. So that game could have changed. Momentum was also there with Roman Powell. That got stopped. So a lot of ifs and buts. But why it's an important moment that needs to be discussed is because it could have changed the result of the game. That can actually affect going forward the playoff spot. It can actually affect the entire season of one team, one such decision. Also, why we need to spend some time over it is because of what transpired after that, the behavior of the Delhi player. That needs to be scrutinized and discussed so that such incidents don't happen in the future. If you're going to brush it under the carpet, you'll have more such issues like this happening. You may have in the future's player coming onto the field for every wrong decision that was taken. Rajshekhar is saying that's clearly a no ball. If it's given a no ball, bowler need to change because already he had one no ball. Riyan Parag will come very easy. So there was a talk that he had already bowled a beamer, but I'm not sure whether he would have been taken off the attack for this no ball. That beamer was true, but this wasn't a beamer. So this was a no ball above the waist. I do not think he would have been taken off the attack on second thought, giving it a lot of. I don't think he would have been taken off the attack. So maybe, you would have still had the same bowler bowling the last few over. Shubham is saying it is such a wrong example of setting different yardsticks for different individuals. Absolutely agree with you, Shubham. That's what we pointed out. Different yardsticks for MS Dhoni, different yardsticks now. In fact, on both occasions, I think players have been let off much easily. They deserve more stringent punishment, to be fair. R.N. Atani is saying this clearly depicts the superstar culture in our cricket, being lenient on MS and now bashing Rishabh. Agree, R.N., but as we are pointing out, both were wrong and both needed to be punished. So, yes, they were lenient. Again, I'm going back to that point. Bruce Oxenford, the umpire at that time, was also lenient with MS Dhoni. Maybe that had a role to play why he was just given a 50% fine. Shravan Malhotra is saying, but Rishabh is right. How is he right? I mean, he's right of being aggrieved, all right. But I do not think he was right in calling his players off the field. And I do not think he was right in sending Praveen Amre to go and call the players off or go and have a word with the umpire. On both occasions, he was wrong. And that's why he's been fined 100% on the match fee, which I think is, again, very lenient, as I pointed out earlier. 100% match fee. Rishabh Pant, maybe one social media post if he puts out for a sponsor, he'll cover that money. Shravan says, Nikhil, I just want to say that Nitin Menon is involved in every controversial decision. Give him the Game Changer award. He has been, but I'm very surprised. Nitin Menon was one of the most outstanding umpires to come from India. But yes, the standards have dropped. He has come in for a lot of criticism. That's because he's been getting a lot of decisions wrong. So, I mean, I think you really need to revisit all the umpires that, India has, and the standard of umpiring in India. A standard of cricket has gone so much because of how much the BCCI has invested. I can't understand why that same investment cannot be made for better umpires. Has Maxwell tweeted on this?
Yeah,
what has he said?
Maxwell said, why can't the third umpire look at it?
Exactly. By the way, on that subject of, yes, I agree with Maxwell that third umpire should have looked into it. I understand the rules that if it was out,
no balls,
yeah.
Why can't they call such no
So
balls?
exactly what we had said. So I agree with Maxwell on that front. On that occasion, I agree the rules were such that had it been out, then the third umpire would have, come into the play. But I'm saying when the third umpire started looking at the front foot no ball as well, and actually what do you want? What is the umpire's role? Let's be practical and don't get into the laws or nitty-gritties of it. What's the role of an umpire? To ensure that the game goes on in the right manner, right decisions are taken. If a third umpire can see it on television replay, as you and I could see, that was wrong at that time, that no ball, he should have intervened. He should have called the umpire. Again, also the problem was with the on-field umpires being stubborn. is no harm. I know whatever the rule book, nobody would have questioned it had he consulted the third umpire. Nobody would have questioned that. Even if he had gone beyond the rules and consulted the third umpire, nobody should have, had any objection to it. In the end, both teams would have wanted that the right decision needed to be taken. And that's why I think there was a great suggestion the other day in our discussion where said that you have those two DRS. Why not allow the captain to take use of that DRS? You're allowed only two. I'm not saying exceed that or make it more than two. But within those two DRS calls, let the umpire, if he has DRS reviews left, let him use it. Let the captain use it for any decision that he feels has gone against his team. Let the third umpire look at it and a decision being made, whether it was for a no ball, even for a wide. I know sometimes the wide calls are subjective, but on when you see it, the other day it happened with Stoinis. Everyone agreed that that was a wide. Maybe allow the captain, if he's got DRS reviews, to go to the third umpire. Let the best decisions be taken. Okay, I'm afraid that's all the time that I have at the moment. Thanks so much for joining me, and I try to take all your questions, but we'll be live in exactly 2 minutes from now because we have a double header coming up in the IPL today, and we'll look at both those games very, very closely. I'll try and answer all your questions related to that in exactly 2 minutes from now on Sports Today. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you shortly.